So here we are again after a short break. I was out, you were out. So yeah, I think this is episode 16. Welcome back, Sjimi. You
Thanks.
just returned from Peru, right? I was in
Correct.
France and Austria. I think one of the things that I saw when I was on holiday is that people. I mean, we live in a bubble, that's for sure. When you're on the French countryside, I don't think anyone is even working with AI or thinking about AI. Have you seen this? I guess in a country like Peru, is it the same? Like, do you encounter people who actually use AI?
I think so. I was playing some chess in the capital, Lima, and I think there at least I was playing with somebody who was in the scene. So he was like a developer who wanted to be a developer. And there we had a discussion about AI, and he was using it to vibe code some applications, basically replacing some spreadsheets that he had. So I think that was something I saw in the countryside in the Altiplano. I didn't see it. And I think
I guess no.
the interesting thing about that discussion it was about the cost of AI. So for us, obviously, like an AI subscription, cloud subscription, I don't know, it's premium, it's $100 per month. It's not really a problem, right? We give them out, we make sure every developer has them. But if you know that the average wage in Peru is $400, that becomes again a very limiting factor to using AI,
Yeah,
and
of
I think
course.
it creates even a
Yeah,
bigger
and
gap for those people.
yeah, I wonder then is in our industry the average wage is 400, but in our industry I think wages are more or less globalized. Of course, it will be a bit less, but I think it will be more affordable for an engineer than for someone else to buy. But it's interesting. That
It's a
brings me
bit
actually to yeah.
maybe just to add to that. Obviously, yeah, once you're an established engineer, it's going to be normally you should have a globalized wage and you should be able to pay. But I think it's more about the gap it creates again for the newcomers in the field. We've talked about the experience gap and the learning gap, but I think the money gap. I think it's maybe something I didn't realize until I was confronted with it and having that conversation with that person in Peru.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, especially if you start counting the underlying tokens it actually uses and what the actual cost would be. Stuff
Mhm.
and stuff passing by on the internet, like people trying to calculate the actual usage of their Max accounts or whatever they were using, and it's
Yep.
like crazy expensive. And of course, I was then thinking, yeah, but that means, of course, you have the public API pricing. That's not the actual cost for Anthropic or OpenAI to run them. So I guess the actual cost will be a fraction of that. So you cannot extrapolate it like they're trying to do, I believe. Of course, the truth is somewhere in the middle, but I bet that they are trying to recuperate a bit of the losses they make on the subscription based on the API pricing. So I guess maybe it's like 1/10 or something. Maybe it's something I should try to figure out like what it actually is, so you cannot compare it like that. That brings me actually to the next thing. We were discussing a bit like the hardware we have in our office, and I need to like every year I go through all the computers we have and stuff like that.
Yep.
And I found like an old Mac Mini, and I was like, maybe we should start running our own kind of hardware in the office to run models so that we don't have to pay for all these subscriptions. And I started thinking about it, and then I'm like, but maybe this Mac Mini that we have, it's not the perfect thing. Maybe we need to buy some kind of actual GPU enabled thing, especially because in our office we have good internet fiber, I believe, with good throughput. But also we don't pay for usage of energy, so it would be actually pretty cheap to run it. But then I think I started thinking like, okay, but how do you do that, and what are all the things that you need to think of when you start doing something like that?
I still believe that we will move into that direction. I think we talked about it before, where even bigger companies, banks and stuff like that, they're running their own Aikido instances on their own hardware. I think we're going to move to the same thing where we have models running on their own hardware. But yeah, I think it's still, how would I say, it's still emerging, right? Emerging, so there's no playbook for it yet, but it would be cool to
Yeah,
explore
I
it.
think the example you're mentioning of running a software in company is something on-premise has been around for years, and is basically because banks, they, for example,
Yeah.
they don't want to expose their network externally, which makes sense. But I think the people that bought those Mac Minis like 6 months ago for running OpenClaw, I wonder how many of them are still in use.
We should ask our team, like some people did it in our team, right? So we should ask.
But as computers get better, I think there will be the merge of that kind of movement of buying hardware to running it on your computer. Also, the models are getting smaller and more performant. So I guess at one point in time, those two will merge together, and you run them on your own computer. I think that's what makes most sense, and that's what makes it most
Yeah.
convenient to do so. I would bet give it another year or so, and then we will be there where we can basically run. I mean, you can already do that. I run Whisper, for example, on my computers, like with 3 GB or 4 GB, and you get like good results with it. And I know that some people did the same. And if you have a good computer from a computer, it's doable. So I guess we will get there at one point in time, rather than to have your own hardware. So
Talking
I
about
refrain from buying anything.
that's very disciplined of you, Andreas. I know you
Yeah,
differently. Yeah, maybe talking about you were talking about the energy cost at the office. Made me wonder, oh, maybe we should install some Bitcoin miners.
yeah,
I don't know if
exactly.
you, yeah, I don't know if you saw the news, kind of related about the cold wallet being, hacked into. I don't know if you read about it.
Yeah, sure, sure. It's like they hacked. Basically, there was a problem in the firmware of the wallets, right? Where the randomization of the encryption key was not random enough,
Yeah,
something like that.
so the entropy of the seed phrase. So when you set up a new wallet, you create a seed phrase, and the entropy, basically the address generation, it wasn't properly done, or it could be deduced. So there were a lot less possibilities than initially thought. And I think, yeah, a collective, or I don't know, a hacker found it. It was in the code for quite some time already, and then
Yeah, it was after in 2021 or something,
yep,
right? Yeah.
exactly. And then they used it to, I think, last week to hack about 75 million euros of bitcoins and different wallets. So
But it's a physical hardware,
it's a
right?
physical device, yes.
But is the physical device basically a token to get access to something, or are the bitcoins actually on the device? How does it work?
Bitcoin is basically, you have the address, and to access that wallet, you have a password like the seed
Yeah,
token, and so it doesn't really matter if it's online somewhere or if it's in a hardware wallet. If you have that combination, you can
yeah.
access it because it's on the chain.
So
Typically,
basically,
the
they made a virtual twin of the hardware.
yeah, but it's like if you find a combination, you can get access to it because it's all in the
Yeah, okay.
Bitcoin chain. The interesting thing there is that obviously they were always saying if you use something like Coinbase, you don't have access to your own keys. So Coinbase manages it for you. And the old adage was yeah, your keys, your Bitcoin, right? They always said like if you have your own keys, you should be safe. But of course, if those keys are generated in a bad way, and somebody can deduce like what those keys are, then you get into this thing where
And was that
where like
firmware already patched, or is it just old devices with old firmware that were, or all the
I think there
devices
were already
exposed?
patches um, for the
Probably they
new.
saw that. I guess what happened, and probably has to do with AI as well. The people back then realized that this was an exploit they could use, and they were like, "Huh, I'm not smart enough to figure out how to exploit this." And then with the advancement of AI, maybe even with Fable or whatever came out recently, they tried it again, and they're like, "Huh, now I know how to do it." And then
Yeah,
they
it's the
planned their
question.
attack.
It's the question of on the internet as well. Is this enabled because of AI? Like, has that been an accelerator for being able to do this kind of hacks? Which there's no conclusive answer. But yeah, very interesting nonetheless to see that. It's not because it's your keys that it's your coins. Beware, right?
Yeah, I'm not very well versed into the whole Bitcoin thing. I know you are. But it comes basically down to whoever claims they're safe, you can never be sure, right?
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
always like, yeah,
Pen and paper, that's still the best way to do it. In a safe somewhere. Cool. Awesome. We'll see each other again in, I think next week already, because I'm also again on holiday in 2 weeks. So we'll have to schedule something. We also need to make people aware of our upcoming CXO dinner. So we throw these events once a quarter in Belgium, or basically bring together CTOs for a very informal gathering. If you would want to attend the one in September, yeah, feel free to reach out. You can mail us or mail me, Andreas@madewithlove.com, and we will send you an invite. Thank you, Sjimi. Have a good rest of your day.
same to you. Bye.
Bye bye.